Hello there, this is Rom Wills coming back at you with yet another podcast. The key is balance in your relationships. The key is balance, and this is to continue the discussion I started yesterday about the social and sexual side of relationships. And there's a tendency for people to focus just on one side of it in their discussions, in their behavior, even in their lives. And the thing is, there's only one solution to it. Only one. You can say what you want, do whatever. You get some people, they just focus on the social side of it. Yeah, okay. But you still got genitals. They still gonna work. And sometimes some people who focus on the genital side, the social side, they get in trouble because they find that one person come in their lives who just tear them up. Because they so turned on and they start pushing those buttons. And then, of course, you got some people who are more underground with the discussion. They don't discuss it publicly, but privately. In fact, you could see some of it on social media. They like all about that sex and stuff, but then their life is like a bull in a china shop. They need a little bit more order. Thing is, you got to think this, like some people try to put this off on, well, it's culture and, what's going on in society, being civilized or whatever. And then, the other side is like, oh, no, sex is natural and everything. They're both right. But you can't suppress either one because every single human being has both within them. Every single human being. You can't try to suppress the sexual one. In fact, people who try to suppress the sexual one, those are the ones who usually run into other issues. And I'll just say, sometimes that sex thing still comes out. In fact, it's deep to the point I will be highly reluctant. I was highly reluctant coming up. If I ran into somebody and he was like, hey, can I babysit your sons or something? And I felt that sexual repression. I'm like, hell no. Because they come out in weird ways, twisted ways too. Twisted ways. So it still comes out. You can't suppress that because that's a part of who you are. The sex part is a part of who you are. It's just a matter of managing it. And then the social side, that's a part of who you are. Because it comes down to a simple thing. Your body and spirit. The social side is more on the spirit side. The intangibles, how people going to create culture, how they going to get along with another person, how they going to operate when they're not having sex. But you still have that desire. So the only key to it is reaching that place of balance. And this ain't some new concept. The trick is in my book, Nice Guys and Players. Notice how I said it, nice guys and players. A lot of people don't realize. Now, when I published it and I put it out, people talk about it. It's in simple terms. But if you look at what I talk about in Nice Guys and Players and the things I have for everyone, of course, I talk about select and non-select, right? But anybody who's actually read Nice Guys and Players will see I don't tell non-select guys to stay where they at. I have prescriptions for them to evolve. I broke it down even further into, 2 categories in each one. In the select side are the masked men and the Mr. Good Bars. On the non-select side, the nice guys and the gamesmen. But what I don't talk about a lot publicly is, but it's right in the book. And anybody who's read it can tell you. I had a 5th category, real man. Now, real quick, why I don't really put that out, because a lot of guys might hear that and think, oh, they automatically there. No, you're not. Because as I talked about in the follow-up book, Sexual Chemistry, the real man is the one who's fully developed his will. That means neither side is suppressed. So he should be able to operate in the social world and in the sexual world equally, but on his terms. To use an analogy, having a flamethrower, you still have that flame, but you have a way to control it and direct it. The real man, the superior man, he's going to ride that, that sexual energy becomes the horse that he rides. It's the same thing as the like the sex transmutation thing I talked about, which was first, well, publicly introduced by Napoleon Hill in his landmark book Think and Grow Rich. But it's actually something that some secret societies are aware of and use, and some higher elite male groups use. I can guarantee some people in those groups, including the Masons and stuff, can tell you the same thing. But the key to everything is balance. And just to be clear, this ain't just for the men, the women too. Because they really go through it. Because men naturally might have a tendency to be closer to balanced. For the simple fact that regardless of how much money we make, most of us, not all of us, most of us will still say we still want that good sex, and we public about it. And women want it too, but because of the society, they might suppress something or hide something, hence the sexual underworld. But it's still there because you can't get rid of either one. You can't suppress either one. The more you suppress either one, the more you have problems. And then when you get into a relationship, that's where the big problem is. And I'm saying this from like coaching probably over 1,000 clients over the years, like 20 years, talking with people, being on panels and everything. And anybody who can keep their heart stable, keep their emotions out of it, and really look at it. When you look at relationships, they break up because they're not balanced. Yeah, they might be able to get along. They might be able to get along fine. That's why you got a bunch of sexless marriages. They might be able to get along publicly. And even privately, as far as talking to each other, keeping bills paid. But then the sexual side is suppressed for whatever reason because of their own thing. And they not enjoying it. But then that's how you get infidelity on both sides. Both sides. Like they talk about the dual mating strategy of women. They'll get the guy who's good for the social side, but then cheat with the sexual side. And, with a lot of men, especially some men who are able to do it, they'll get that like good wife, that good woman for that social side, maybe even have a baby with her. They'll still have sex with her. But then the mistress, she's just for the sexual side, especially some powerful men will do that. In order for any relationship, it's going to come down. I don't care what. One of them is missing. It could be this, a lot of times when people are talking about like what's going on, it's the sexual side. They're not turned on by each other, or that lust isn't there. And then on the other side, now it's kept as public. A lot of men and women who are more on that sexual side, yeah, they're getting sex, but then they ain't getting no order in it. That's why you get a lot of side men and mistresses. They got that sexual side going, but it's hard for them to get in a regular relationship. Because first of all, the people they deal with just on the sexual side. But for whatever thing, it's all about balance. And if anybody, you can read any of my works, that's what I'm talking about. Now on this public space, now personally, I'm always talking about the body game. But then I've thrown out a lot of stuff to bring balance on the other side. A lot of people ain't thinking about that, because a lot of people, especially if they're on like the intelligentsia side, they're suppressed anyway, so they don't think, oh, well, I need to bring this out. And that's a big problem. A lot of people, once they get really suppressed, because that suppression starts in childhood, or to one side, the social side, or the sexual side, either intelligence and bohemian, they never see the other side, so they don't know it. And usually the thing that even might get them to the other side just to see it might be some trauma. And I get that's something that takes a deeper thing, even going on my Deep Thought channel. But whatever the case, those things are still there. For the metaphysicians, as above, so below. You got to have both sides. And that's the only way, because that's in your spirit. That's in your spirit. Your spirit is there, but your body's still there too. And that's the only key. That's the only way. You can't suppress one, because trust me, you suppress one, there's going to be issues. At the very least, even if you can't be at a perfect balance, only way to solve any relationship issues is to get as close to that balance, that 0 point, as possible. So anyway, like I said, in all my books, that's that. If you really look at them, that's the whole point. That was the whole base of Nice Guys and Players, getting to that point. Because remember, I talked about the different categories. Like the non-select, I'm telling them how to become more balanced. I'm telling the mass men and Mr. Goodbars, the select guys, how to become more balanced. Yeah, even Mr. Goodbars, because all four of those categories, shoot, that's just at. There's always, I'll just say this: there's always room for all of them to ascend to a higher level, evolution. And for people who follow my Deep Thought channel, and for people who know the deeper metaphysics behind what I'm talking about, it's about reaching that second level of human evolution. It's rising from the masses or inferior man to the, superior man, real man level. It's about evolution. And it's getting to that point where you have that balance. Is being to the point where you can consciously ride that horse. You can consciously direct that flame. And that's men and women, really. Don't get too caught up in, inferior man to, the masculine pronoun. But it's the same thing. It's the same thing across the board. Every relationship need that balance. They need to, if a couple come together, they get married, yeah, they need to keep the bills paid, be able to get along, but they still need to make each other holler in the bedroom. And this is the key. There's no one can point out to anything better, because everything is working. You can break it down. If you break down all the problems, it's right there, lack of balance. Everything's imbalanced. So anyway, just putting that out there. I want people to think about that and understand. Some people try to understand what I'm promoting, and that's always been evolution and reaching that balance. That's why it's called my book, the primary book, Nice Guys and Players. The key word is and. And, when I was putting it out, a lot of women got into it, and I told them straight up. I said, look, we know y'all want that guy who can pay the bills and be a good dad and all that stuff, but we also know you want him to be able to knock you out in the bedroom. They be high-fiving and buying the book for them, for the men in their lives. And, and men want the same damn thing. The men who get their, those men who get their wife, good woman, they love her and everything, but that mistress too. A man will love a woman who's a freak and a lady in the streets and a freak in the sheets. That's just basic. People and many people know exactly what I'm talking about. They don't need to use the same terms I just threw out, but they know that balance has to be there. Anybody with common sense should know that. But common sense ain't common. But that's the key. I'm putting it out. Balance. If you have that balance, you good to go. So anyway, that's all I have for today. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.